So in this video, we are going to be looking at multiple components. So this is our root component. What is a root component? A root component is the base component that renders first, and then it render other components. So for example, this is our app component, which is a normal function that returns a JXS and it exports the component. Now the component is being rendered here and is mounted on this root. Now let's look at this diagram to see how our root component behave. This is our root component, which is our app, and this root component is going to house this nav bar, the block details, the sidebar. So all of them, they are going to be housed in this root component. So this root component in our component tree is the first component to render, then these three components, and then the sidebar is going to render these other two components inside of it. Let's see how that is going to work with our project. So I'm going to take out this. Let me make this bigger. So I'm going to take out this, and I'm going to make a new div. Okay, and this is going to have a class of content, so that when we start styling, it's going to be very easy for us. And this is app component. Okay, so now the first thing that I want us to do is to come to this source folder, and we'll create a new file. We are going to call this navbar.js. Okay, in this navbar.js, I'm just going to run a command that will create my components for me. RFCE. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to remind you what is a component in React. It's a normal function that returns a JXS and it exports the component by default. So in React 17 and above, you don't need to import React here. It's just supposed to work like this without importing React. But if you are using anything below 17, you need to import it here, else you'll get an error. Now we have created our components already. This is our component. Now we are going to render our component inside here. How do we render our component inside here? This is how we are going to render it. We will first of all import. What are we importing? Navbar from, in the same directory, navbar. So now we can comfortably come inside this class and we call our navbar. We'll self-close it like this, which should work. There are two ways of doing that actually. So you see here we have our navbar, which is on top of this app component. You can still decide to close it like this depending on your case, and it's still going to work as required. That's it, still working. But for this video, I'm just going to self-close it like so. Yeah, and that's fine. So our second component that we are going to create is our home component. So I'm going to create a new file. Remember, it has to be in capital letters, home.js. And then I'll do my arrow FCE, and I'll take enter. It creates it for me automatically. So sorry about that, my baby is crying. So I'm going to make my class name here. I'm going to make my class name here. I'll call this home, so that it will be easier for us when we want to style it. Remember that when you are doing normal JavaScript and you want to give a class name, you just put class and you give a name. But for JXS, you must make this camel case. So I'm going to make h1 tag, h1. I'll call this max advanced code def. Okay. Now inside this, I'm going to make a link div, class name links. So inside this, I'm going to create a link like this. This will be home. This will be home, and then I'm going to put in my href here, and I will just call this home like so, and then I'll copy and paste it, and I will change this to maybe create post or create block. For now, it's not going to work for now until we implement our route. So how do I call this component which has been exported and render it? I'm going to come inside here, and I want to call the component in this place here under content, in the content class. So as I did before, but now watch what I'm going to do. I will do this and I start writing home. Immediately it imports it automatically for me. I self close it, and this should work normally. Okay, you see, this is our nav bar and this is our home. So that's fine for now. We'll continue in our next